Hello Internet, what's up my peeps? As everyone else, I am constantly in need of more storage space. And in order to utilize what I have in my garage at my disposal, I'm going to try and convert this area up here, above the garage door, and make better use of it than what I'm doing now. So I need to come up with some sort of construction. I won't be putting anything heavy on there. Simply stuff like this. Insulation and styrofoam and cardboard, stuff like that. Okay, let me just walk you through the math real quick. The shelf needs to be 90 deep, or 900 mil deep, and 2820 mil wide. So what I did was I gave my brother, the carpenter, a call and asked if he had any plywood or similar to make the actual shelf from, and he said, why don't you just rip up some boards and space them out, because if you're going to just have insulation and cardboard and stuff on it, you don't need a full sheet of plywood for the actual shelf. And I said that's a great idea, and I had a lot of scrap from when I built my fence. So the boards I have are 120 mil wide, and I know that the width of my blade on my table saw is 3 mil, and I'm trying to get 3 cuts. So this is the loss from the blade, and then I'm gonna do 3 cuts. So I divided all of this with 3, and then I got 37. But this is a complicated way of doing it, I figured out. Instead you just divide by 3 the number of cuts, and then you subtract the width of the blade, and then you get 37 mils. So this is a much cleaner way of doing it. This is just awkward and unnecessarily complicated. So okay, 37 wide for each slat in the shelf, so to speak. And then I need to space them out. And they don't really need to be 37 mil apart either. They can be more. So I thought, well, let's just double that space so it gets a little bit symmetric at least. So we have 37 times 2 plus 37. That equals 25 slats in total, which we then divide, roughly 25, which we divide with 3, because we get 3 from each board I'm ripping, which gives us 8.47 boards, or rounded up, it's 9 boards. I need to cut them down to 900 mil, and then I need to rip them to 37 mil, and I need 25 of them. A little Ben Eater impression here. I need to figure out how to space the different slats I just cut, and you'd think it's as easy as just divide by the width of the shelf by the number of slats and we're done. It's not that easy though. So let me use a quick example here. Let's say you have something 100 centimeters wide. Thanks, Blaine. Let's say that our shelf is 100 centimeters wide, and we want to use 5 10 centimeter wide slats. You'd think that this would lead to, well, just divide 100 by 5, and that's the spacing we need. But it's not that simple, unfortunately, because if we divide it by 20 like this and add 10 centimeters here, 10, 10, 10, and where we're gonna, if we put it here, this is where we want to end up. So we can't put it here. And if we put it over here, there's a huge gap here. My initial thought was, well, let's just use 80 centimeters instead. We remove that and that slat from the equation and just work with this part. It's not that simple though. I've done a number of trial and errors here. I won't go into exactly how I got to all of this, but in the end, this is the correct way to do it. This might look a bit confusing, so let me just quickly walk you through it. What we do is that we start in the center of the end slats. This is the rightmost and this is the leftmost. So from here to here, it's 90, because these are 10 centimeters wide. So we subtract 5 here and 5 here and end up with 90. And then we divide that by 5, because we want 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That turns out to be 18 centimeters. So it's 18 between the center of this slat and this slat. And sure, we could be happy with that result, but it's kind of finicky to figure out the center of each slat and position that in 18. But we can offset everything. So if it's 18 centimeters between centers of the slats, then it's also 18 centimeters between the rightmost edge of the slats, or the leftmost if you prefer. So we can measure from this slat to here, or this here and here. And this should also be 18, which means that we can reference off of one edge of the slat to the exact same edge on the next slat and make sure that that's 18, and then just continue onwards. This is probably obvious to some of you more experienced carpenters, but for me it took a bit of trial and error and figuring this stuff out. To summarize, the total length, 100 centimeters. We subtract half of the width of the end slat and the other slat, which leaves us with 90. We divide that by the number of spaces we want. We want 4 more slats, which means we need 5 spaces. And then you use that to space out the slats, either from the center to center, or from right to right, or left to left. Hopefully that makes some sense. While digging through my stash for a suitable piece of lumber to use on the wall of the garage to prop up the shelf on, I found these two. This is a leftover from another project, not really sure what, and this is a leftover from my fence. So what I'm going to do is rip this one down to the same width as this one, and then we'll just glue them together, and they'll be plenty thick to support the shelf. Again, there will be very little weight on this shelf. this is as good as this gonna get. I thought I was precise with my spacers, but it seems that I needed to tighten it up a bit at the end. Maybe a bit more than I needed. Perhaps I overdid it a bit, but yeah, it's in there now. Oh, the joys of living relatively close to an airport. Yeah, there we go. So what I did was I re-drilled this guy. This hole was pointing slightly upwards, which meant that when I tightened it, it just pulled the entire shelf with it up. So this one I drilled a new hole, and now it's a lot more level. Okay, let's see if we can open the garage door without breaking anything. I'm leaving this in now, this spacer, because this flexes more than I thought it would, and in hindsight of course it would, because it's in the wrong direction. Might need a bit of grease, but otherwise it's working as intended. I got almost all of my junk up there. The installation isn't really space efficient for obvious reasons. And I'm not really even sure why I'm keeping that mattress. But nonetheless, the Buick is no longer acting as a shelf. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting, useful, entertaining, or all of the above. Please stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!